Okay, let's talk about something most of us can't live without. It gets us going in the morning, powers us through the afternoon slump, but sometimes we blame it for that not-so-great feeling in our stomach. Yep, I'm talking about caffeine. Today, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of what's really going on between your daily coffee and your gut.
You've probably heard it a million times, right? Caffeine makes your stomach produce more acid, and that's what causes heartburn. But what if I told you that's only half the story? And the other half might just change everything you thought you knew about your favorite pick-me-up.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with what everyone thinks they know about caffeine. Then we'll get into a wild tale of two tastes, uncover some secret sensors in the stomach, see how a really clever experiment broke it all down, and finally, explore what all this could mean for the future of treating heartburn.
All right, first things first. Let's talk about caffeine's reputation. You know, the one that paints it as the bad guy for our stomachs.
For years and years, the science seemed pretty straightforward. Caffeine is a well-known stimulant of what's called gastric acid secretion, or GAS for short. Basically, it flips the switch on the acid factories in your stomach, telling them to ramp up production. And that's why it's always been linked to indigestion and heartburn.
But, and this is a big but, this is where the story takes a totally unexpected turn. Welcome to the surprising twist in our tale.
Okay, get ready for this, because it's pretty wild. Researchers found that how your body meets the caffeine is everything. When you just taste the bitterness of caffeine in your mouth, it sends a signal to your stomach to actually slow down acid production. But if that same caffeine gets directly into your stomach without you tasting it, it does the complete opposite. It fires up acid production. It's the same molecule, but it has two totally different effects.
So, you're probably asking, how on earth is that possible? Well, to get it, we need to zoom in and take a look at some secret sensors hiding inside our stomachs.
First up, let's meet the key players. Inside your stomach lining, you've got these things called parietal cells. You can just think of them as the stomach's little acid factories. They're the ones on the front line, pumping out hydrochloric acid to help you digest your food.
And now for the plot twist. We all know we have bitter taste receptors on our tongues, right? They're called TAS2Rs, and they're why coffee tastes bitter. But here's the kicker. Scientists found out that we have the exact same receptors deep down inside our stomachs. They're not there for you to taste your food again. They're acting as chemical sensors, keeping tabs on what's going on in your gut.
So knowing that we have these two separate sets of bitter receptors, one in the mouth and one in the stomach, researchers designed this absolutely brilliant experiment to figure out what each one was doing.
It was pretty clever. They had volunteers take caffeine in 3 different ways. The first group just drank it normally, so the caffeine hit the receptors in both their mouth and their stomach. The second group took it in a little capsule that would only open up once it was in the stomach, so it only hit the stomach receptors. And the third group did a sip and spit, so the caffeine only touched the receptors in their mouth.
And the results were just wow. Take a look at this. The sip and spit method, just tasting the caffeine, actually delayed the stomach from producing acid again by a full 20 minutes. Even just drinking it normally caused a small delay. But now look all the way to the right. When the caffeine went straight to the stomach in the capsule, it completely flipped the script and sped up acid production by 23 minutes. It couldn't be clearer. The mouth and the stomach are having two very different conversations with caffeine.
But, this is science. To be 100% sure that these bitter taste receptors were really the ones calling the shots, they needed one final piece of proof. This leads us to the grand finale, blocking the bitterness. To do this, they brought in a special molecule called homoeryodictyl, or HED for short. Just think of this stuff as a bitter blocker. Its whole job is to find those bitter taste receptors and basically put earmuffs on them so they can't hear the bitterness.
The theory was really simple. If these bitter receptors are truly the masterminds behind this whole thing, then using HD to block them should pretty much cancel out caffeine's weird effects on stomach acid.
And guess what? It worked. Like it worked perfectly. When people took caffeine with the bitter blocker, that acid delaying effect from tasting it, it just disappeared. And when they took the encapsulated caffeine with the blocker, the acid stimulating effect was way, way smaller. This was the smoking gun. It proved that the bitter taste receptors in both the mouth and the stomach are the key players here.
So this is all fascinating science, right? But what does it actually mean? Why does this matter? Well, it turns out it could have some huge real-world implications for how we treat heartburn in the future.
I mean, just look at what the study's authors themselves said. They pointed out that this discovery cracks open the door to totally new ways of treating really common problems related to stomach acid, like GERD and peptic ulcers.
And this quote from the study really drives the point home. They concluded that we might be able to use bitter compounds, or even bitter masking compounds like HED, as actual medical treatments to help control the pH level in our stomachs.
So it leaves us with this one last, really fascinating thought. Could the key to finally solving one of our most common digestive problems not be in some super strong new drug, but instead hiding in plain sight in the simple sensation of bitter taste? It's definitely something to chew on during your next coffee break. Thanks for tuning in.